The Buzz on Beekeeping, Honeybees and Pollination with Mr. Muehlbauer. My name is Mr. Muehlbauer. You might know me because I am the 4th grade band teacher at Park Ave and Sanfordville schools. In addition to teaching kids how to play musical instruments, I am also a beekeeper. I have been keeping bees for about 10 years. This is my son, Miles. He's a 4th grader at Sanfordville. Sometimes he helps out with my bees. In these pictures, we're both wearing our protective clothing so the bees don't sting us. Honeybees are not aggressive, which means they usually don't sting people. However, we always use caution when we're around bees. This means working slow and steady. We wear our protective clothing. We use smoke to help calm the bees when we're working in the hives. The smoke does not hurt the bees. Instead, it encourages them to fill their bellies with honey, just in case their hive is on fire. While they're busy eating the honey, they are less likely to be concerned with us. Miles and I live in Pine Island, which is part of Warwick. This is a picture of our large garden. Here we grow a variety of fruits and vegetables. You have been learning in class all about pollination. Pollination is very important for producing fruits and vegetables. Different types of plants are pollinated in different ways. Let's explore my garden and see some examples. We grow corn. Corn is pollinated by the wind. I grow my corn rows very close together so that I can be sure that each stalk is properly pollinated. Our pepper and bean plants are called self-fertile. This means that they are able to pollinate themselves. It must be working because there is a big pile of green peppers in this photo. Most of the plants that we grow in our garden need insects to pollinate them. There are many types of insects that are pollinators. They visit each vegetable flower and spread pollen to a neighboring flower. Honeybees are a type of pollinating insect. In our garden, the honeybees pollinate our cucumbers, strawberries, raspberries, tomatoes, onions, watermelon, and cantaloupe. As you can see by the size of this list, honeybees are incredibly important. Without pollinating insects, none of these fruits and vegetables would be able to grow. There are many types of pollinating insects. The insects that I am an expert on is honeybees. This is a picture of a feral colony of honeybees near my house. They are living in a wall of a barn. A feral colony means that these are wild bees. You can find feral bee colonies in many places. Honeybees make their homes inside hollow trees. They can also make hives inside walls of a structure, like a house or a barn. This is a close-up of inside the barn. If you look very closely, you can see the honeycomb that the bees make out of wax. Bees have a special gland in their body that produces wax. They make the honeycomb to live in. This is where they store their food and where the queen bee can lay her eggs. Beekeepers do not keep their bees in hollow trees or old barns. We use a specific type of beehive called a Langstroth hive. These hives are boxes that are stacked on top of each other. The bees enter in a hole at the bottom and go inside. Inside each box are 10 frames. A frame is a narrow piece of wood that the bees can build their honeycomb on. I am able to take the frames in and out of the box to make sure the bees are all healthy. This is a picture of one frame that I took out of the box. This box had 10 frames inside. Okay, welcome to my bee farm. Another name for a bee farm is an apiary. This is a picture of me hard at work at my apiary. Each stack of boxes that you see is a colony. Each box has 10 frames inside it. Some colonies have 2 boxes, and some of these colonies have up to 5 boxes. The more boxes a colony has, the stronger that colony is. Right now, my apiary has 10 colonies. At any given time, there are about 500,000 to 800,000 bees down there. It can get very loud and very chaotic. I always work slowly, and I have a plan in mind before I start to open the hives. It takes practice to be comfortable around so many bees. They are usually not aggressive, and I enjoy spending many hours working in the hives. Look closely. Do you see bees on this sunflower? They are busy. They are busy drinking the sweet, watery nectar in this flower. They are also gathering up lots and lots of pollen. When the bees mix pollen from different sunflowers, the sunflowers will grow seeds later in the year. Without bees, there would be no sunflower seeds. I can take these seeds to eat or plant to grow even more sunflowers. If you look closely at the bee on the right, you can see that she is carrying pollen back to the hive on her legs. Her belly is also full of watery nectar. Both of these plant parts are very important to bees. This picture even shows the upside down guard bees. They're making sure that they're making sure that only bees who live in this hive can enter. Everybody else is going to be chased away. This is a picture of inside the hive. This is honeycomb. If you look closely, you can find the wet nectar and the dry pollen. The bees will feed the pollen to young bees. The different colors of pollen are from different types of flowers the bees have visited. These flowers appear to be dark yellow, light yellow, and white. The nectar will be evaporated during the summer until it is thick and gooey. When this happens, the nectar has turned into honey. Bees evaporate the nectar by fanning their wings inside the hive to create airflow. It can take many weeks for the nectar to evaporate enough to turn into honey. This is a frame I pulled from one of my hive boxes. It is completely full of honey. This frame weighs about 4 or 5 pounds. I always make sure that the bees have enough honey in their hive to last them for the winter. In each hive, I leave about 80 to 100 pounds of honey for the bees to eat. If they make more than 100 pounds, I usually harvest the excess. I know that this frame has completely turned from nectar into honey. When the honey is ready, the bees will cover it with a layer of wax. This keeps the honey from leaking out. They will eat this honey all winter long when there are no flowers blooming. The honey has to last them about 4 months. This is some of the honey that I harvested from my hives last season. Different flowers create different types of honey. Each one tastes unique. The lightest honey was harvested in early spring. When you see dandelions start to grow and buds forming on the trees, the bees are starting to make their first honey of the season. As the spring turns into summer, many more flowers are blooming, and the honey has a beautiful amber color. The darkest honey is from early fall. There are not as many flowers blooming during this period, and the honey is dark and has a very distinctive taste. When it's time to harvest honey, I bring the frames inside my house. The first step is to scrape off the protective wax cappings. This lets the honey drip out. I save the wax in a bucket to use later. One of the things I make with this wax are beeswax candles. Once all the wax cappings have been removed, I put the frames into an extractor. The extractor spins the frames very, very fast, and the honey shoots out and gathers at the bottom of the tank. There is a spout on the bottom, and I can open it to let the honey pour out. This is a picture of the honey pouring out. The final step is to pour it into a filter to remove any extra wax. When the honey is pure, it is poured into jars. Here are three pictures of products that I like to make. On the top are candles. They come in many shapes and sizes, but these are two that I like to make. I use the wax from the cappings and any extra wax from the frame. I melt it down on my stove and form it into molds. On the bottom, you can see different varieties of honey. I put the honey in bottles for my family to use and to sell to customers who want to buy honey. I use different types of jars for different purposes. Another interesting product I make is called mead. Mead is wine that is made from honey. Normally, wine is made from grapes, but mead is different because it uses honey. It takes me about 8 months to make a bottle of mead. Okay, thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope you learned a little bit more about my favorite pollinator, the honeybee. Don't forget that you play a very important role in pollination. You can do things and make choices that help our environment to make the world a healthier place for pollinators.